Namaste, yogis. Welcome to Meet a Yogi. I am here today with Kathryn Herbert. Welcome, Kathryn.
Namaste.
Namaste. Kathryn is a certified Ayurvedic practitioner, and she has been in private practice for people and pets since 2013. She did her graduate studies here in the United States, and then she traveled to India to do additional studies. Kathryn is the founder of Ayurveda for Life, which we will be putting links into her Facebook group, into the descriptions or into the comments of the replays of these videos so that you can get in touch with Kathryn. It's a division of her larger company, Mahat. Kathryn specializes in preventative lifestyle and integrative disease management according to the scientific principles of Ayurveda. Thank you so much for being here, Kathryn.
Thank you for Suzanne for having me.
We were just talking a little bit about your practice, and so I was wondering if you could share a little bit about how you work with people. You practice with people over the phone?
Yes, and Ayurveda is really the birth mother to all medical sciences that we know today in the modern world. Not only is the birth mother of what we call Western or modern medicine as it traveled west from the Indus Valley, the region that we now call India, but it also traveled east and became what we know as traditional Chinese medicine. From those two branches, we have everything from naturopath to homeopathy to, Reiki, you name it. Ayurveda is the birth mother of all of those medical sciences.
And that's what we're talking about today, is because we have Mother's Day coming up, about, this connection to the mother, and now also this birth mother of the sciences.
Yes, and what Ayurveda means is actually life technology. So we get this definition from the two words Ayur and Veda that are stuck together. Ayu meaning life and Veda meaning technologies or wisdom. So Ayurveda is, in an essence, living life for dummies. Okay? And this ancient wisdom is timeless technology, and it is more important now than ever in our modern world.
So thank you for sharing a little bit about Ayurveda. I actually don't know a whole lot about it, so it's really wonderful to have somebody who's so advanced in it come and share, with me and with our group about, what exactly it is. I know that for me, I've talked with people and they're always talking about their doshas and what dosha they are, and I was hoping that we could get a little deeper, because it seems kind of superficial, almost like asking what your sign is or something without really knowing.
Exactly. And anyone who practices astrology, which, by the way, Jyotish, or the science of life, is one of the branches that can be practiced within Ayurveda. But we all know that just reading your horoscope in the newspaper that you were born on this day doesn't really going to give you a full picture of what your true profile and makeup is.
No.
And that's the same thing with what our dosha or our prakruti is, which is the doshic constitution that we are given at birth. Now, it's interesting, and again, thank you for bringing me on Meet a Yogi, because Ayurveda is yoga's sister science. In fact, the ancients did not separate or differentiate between the two. If we are living a yogic lifestyle, we are living a lifestyle that we do things to support our health. So, and that means everything from preventing and preserving the life and the good qualities that we have right now, as well as managing conditions that come upon us. So, and conditions can change throughout the day, and we already know this. For example, when we wake up in the morning, we're like slow and dull and cloudy and groggy, and as the day progresses, we warm up and we get sharper, our day transforms. Until then, it gradually begins to get colder outside. We get colder inside. Night rolls in, comes with darkness, and again, things slow down.
That reminds me of so once I do classes on energy, where we talk about our energy, and a lot of people, it's sort of this alien concept to them. So I remember I will start with a question like, how's your energy today, which everybody can answer whether they know the chakras or whatever. And one guy, most people, when they talk about low energy, they feel like kind of draggy. But this guy said, oh, and then sometimes it's just time to go to sleep. And I thought, right, like there could be that sweet low energy too, and I think that that's just that thing of there being a rhythm to the day, and that sometimes there's a...
Yeah, well, Ayurveda teaches us what that rhythm is. Ayurveda teaches us that there's a time to wake, a time to work, a time to meditate, a time to eat, a time to sleep. And if you want to think along the lines of energy, that energy fluctuates all around us per the time of day, per the time of the year, and also per our time of life, right? Children have a different energy than adults. Adults have a different energy than the aged. We all see that we have different energies pursuant to the seasons, right? We've all heard of spring fever, and the kids can't wait to get out and play, and ball games start up, and that rolls into the summertime. And then there is a harvest as we prepare for the long, dark, cold winter. The periods in our lifestyles do the same thing. And these seasons, these times of days, and these times of life are all governed over what we call dosh, or doshic balance. And dosh literally means that is subject to become imbalanced.
Really?
That sounds a little scary, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So think of the scales. Think of the scales that the blind lady of justice holds in her hand that you might see at a courthouse or something, right? These ancient scales. So when there's nothing in them, they are even. They're in balance. But the moment that we put one thing or another on one side or another, those scales do what? They tip. And when we're tipping, then the energy is not balanced or level. We can think back to what we know from the ancient Egyptians on the tomb walls, that a person's life is measured at the end of their life by taking their heart and weighing it against a feather.
Oh, yeah, it's so beautiful.
Well, I didn't come up with it. This was the Egyptian thing. And when we're living a yogic lifestyle, we are always working with the namas and the niyamas to strive for this balance, so that at the end of the day or the end of our life, we can be able to say to ourselves, yes, I did right by others, and by doing right by others, I did right by myself. So let's take a look at what Ayurveda, what the tri-doshic or the three doshas are that all of Ayurveda is based upon. Okay. And some people may have heard these words before. They're Vata, Pitta, Kapha.
Right. And so the Vata, that's like the higher energy one, and the Kapha is sort of a lower energy, and then
before we get into that, let's have an understanding. Yeah,
get it right.
Slow down, my high energy girl. Right? You're a vivacious Vata, right? So, but let's look at where those three balances come from so that we can better understand them. Because remember, what dosha means is this thing that is so delicate to be thrown out of balance. And that's when problems come. Okay? So, in order to do this, we have to look at the whole entire universe as all of our mothers, right? My mother, your mother, the guy down the street's mother, your cat's mother, the dog's mother, the chair that you're sitting on, mother, the mountain that you live next to, the ocean that you visited, the universe, okay? So this takes us all the way back to the creation story. And whatever that looks like for you on a spiritual level, it's all right. It's correct. From that creation story, we get 5 elements. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you can count to 5, pancha, as we would say in Sanskrit, pancha is the word for 5 in Sanskrit, then you can begin to understand Ayurveda and understand about the way your world and the entire universe works. So, starting from the top on down. The first element that we want to look at is space, okay? Literally space. Does this mean outer space? Yeah. It also means inner space. So just as if we were to fly off of the planet right now and fly about in outer space, this is a space. This is a container. It's a container for things to happen in. It's a container for planets to happen in. It's a container for stars to happen in. And ultimately, it's a container for our spaceship to happen in. And that spaceship is even, in fact, a container for us to happen in.
Okay.
So think of space as space.
Okay.
The word for this is akasha.
Okay.
And a lot of books will refer to this space as ether.
Okay, I understand.
Okay, there's a little bit of a problem there with the translation of ether into English, however, because I find that if I go walking around talking to people about ether, they think this gassy substance that used to be and sometimes still is used as an anesthesia.
That's kind of my, I mean, I know of ether as the ancient, like as one of the ancient elements, but I also do know of ether as like the anesthetic gas.
Exactly.
So you do kind of get that image, even though that's not what the other one is.
Exactly. So to simplify it, let's just think about it as space. You're sitting in a room right now and you are in a space. It's a space is a place that things can be. Okay? If there was no space, think about in a very cluttered room. Okay? And somebody shows up at your door with a big sofa. And you say, oh, I don't have space. That sofa can't happen in this room because there is no space. So let's just look at space as a place where things can be.
The container.
Okay? The container. The opposing side of that is earth. Okay, we're going to look at the 3 elements in the middle in a moment, okay? But if we can think space, and you can even think outer space, and now earth. Because where space is a place where things can be, where things can exist, now earth is a place where things can happen. Things can manifest on earth. You can touch it, see it, hold it in your hand. It's a thing.
The material world.
Material energy. That's right. So in between space and earth, which are both places, a place for it to happen and a place for it to manifest, right? In between, we have air at the top. And again, instead of thinking about air, because that can be a little bit confusing with all of this space, right? So think wind. Okay. Right? Because there is this key term there of movement.
Yes.
Because what is wind? Wind is air that's moving around.
Okay.
Okay. The air is happening inside of a space. That space could be our great big universe. That space could be the room that you're sitting in. And you'll understand that element of movement if you happen to be sitting in a room and you get some sunlight rays coming through the window and you can see these little particulates of dust and things moving and swimming and floating around.
I like your explanation of this, because sometimes I read these kinds of things and they're just these strange lists of stuff. And it's hard to
forget the lists.
Life.
Remember, it's only 5, okay? We've gone from space to earth to air. Okay? And air is electrical energy. It's the principle of movement. And air happens inside of a place, a space, right? In my body, I have air moving in and out of spaces in my body if I'm alive, right? I'm breathing in air. I'm moving the air in so that my body can take oxygen. I'm moving that into a space called my lungs, right? I don't really breathe through my feet. I have lungs in my chest, so I breathe in, and then I move that air again out. The next element is the principle of transformation.
Okay.
And it's everybody's favorite, fire, right? Fire. Fire is radiant energy. Fire transforms. You know this to be true, because if you go to the campfire and you take a log that used to be a tree, but now you chopped it off the tree and now it's a log, you put it in the fire and it transforms into coal, and then from coal, or charcoal I should say, from charcoal it will eventually transform all the way down to dust. A little bit of air comes along and all of that dust is up and moving and getting caught up in the air. Anybody
you know, it's,
like I do with all of the brush fires we had this past year understands what that looks like.
It's the way you describe it. You know, first of all, I think the fire is the one that's like so easy to understand. As that fire and transformation are so closely related in our minds. But I like how you related it also to the wind and the earth, and you're building a story that all of these things relate to each other and are not just different categories.
And I like that you've made that connection, because what that shows me is that idea of radiant energy gave you a spark, which then gave you a perception. Because when we take in information and we transform that into a perception, guess what element we're using? Fire.
Fire. Wait, it's a fire?
That's right.
Kind of slow sometimes.
And just as in the universe, those sparks, for example, the sun is why we see light, right? This is fire. As above, so below. We talked about the fire at the campfire. Now let's take it to our bodies, because macrocosm, microcosm, right?
Okay.
As above, so below. As the universe, so is me. So that element of fire is not only important to my perception, but it's also keeping my body at a good temperature so that I can be alive. It is transforming the food that I eat into nutrients to fuel my body.
Okay.
Ayurveda teaches us that we have 13 fires, or 13 agnis, that live inside of our bodies, okay? The main fire of them is what we talk about digestive fire, or Jartha Agni, that if you've written anything about Ayurveda, this is a term that will come up over and over again. This is Agni with a capital A.
Yeah,
Okay?
and also just I want to make sure that we talk a little bit about like eating, because
All right, slow down. Yeah, we haven't even landed.
digestive fire. Okay, so digestive fire is transforming food.
Digestive fire is our main furnace fire, so that all the other fires can spark, can light. Think of that as the central furnace that then sends all the heat out to the other rooms in your house.
Okay.
Okay? And that is just radiant energy, the concept of radiant energy that allows us, that gives the ability to transform. I look at an image, I transform that into a thought. I eat food, I transform that into blood and nutrients for my body, and eventually waste, if I'm lucky, right? Fire. Coming down below fire, we have water. Now, water is chemical energy. Go back to 9th grade chemistry class, and what is water?
H2O.
H2O. That's interesting. I take 2 molecules of this and 1 molecule of that, and it's an air thing, and now all of a sudden I have water. Chemical energy. Chemistry is born. Now, what do we need water for? When we go out into the universe and we run around on our spaceships and we look at planets, what are we looking for?
Life?
We're looking to see if there's life form out there.
Yes.
Is there any other life out there besides us? Right? Where are these aliens coming from if they're coming? And what do the scientists look for to determine if life is possible on a planet?
They're definitely looking for water.
They're definitely looking for water.
Just as an aside, I have a friend who, he actually was one of the people who worked on the Mars rover project.
Well, there you go. The proof is in the pudding, right? And you can't make pudding without water. Without water, there is no potential for growth. And growth is really just another synonym of life. Because after all, when we stop growing, we cease to live, right? So now we have all this potential, but until we come down and land our feet on Earth, which remember is a place where things can manifest, now we've got something. Now we can grow. Now we can exist. Now we can be. And that's not only me and you, but it's also the chair that we're sitting on, the house that we're in, the neighborhood that we exist in, the country that we reside in, the planet that we live on, the solar system that holds the planet, and the greater universe and beyond of that which we can't even comprehend that far out. As above, so below. Macrocosm, microcosm. So, what does all of this have to do with dosha? Vata, Pitta, Kapha. Oh my gosh, what am I? All right? So let's remember, we did a lot.
So is growth the 5th element? Because I feel like we only had 4. We had fire, we had water. Oh, water was the 5th one.
Fire, water, and now down to earth. Okay? We started with space, and we dropped down to discuss earth.
Space, earth,
space,
wind, fire, and water.
A container where things can exist.
I got it. I felt like we missed one, but we had them all.
We have them all. 5.
I didn't want to skip anything.
Air, fire, water, and earth. Space as a container and the principle of nuclear energy. Air as the principle of movement as electrical energy, fire as the principle of transformation and radiant energy, water as chemical energy. Now we can grow, now we have the potential to grow something. We just need a place, earth, where that can happen. And I really should have gone ether, air, fire, water, earth. Okay?
Because the earth is where it becomes material.
Ether or space is the most subtle of all of these elements. Right?
Right.
Earth, you're sitting on it.
Right.
You get what earth is.
It's the corporal body, you know?
Exactly. And that's where things happen. That's where things manifest into material energy. The chair that you're sitting on is material energy. Okay? Your body is material energy. And some people say, you know what? My body, I got a little too much material energy. Right? I'd like to reduce some of the material energy from my body. What do we need to work with there? We need to work with earth, and we need to work with water, because water and earth plants a seed and allows it to grow. And when we mix earth and water together, what do we get if we were out in the garden?
Mud.
Mud. Okay? And that feels like all that extra material energy on parts of our bodies that we may not want it to be. Right? This is the foundation of Kapha dosha. And the word Kapha is literally two Sanskrit words stuck together, meaning flourishes in water. Kapha, flourishes in water.
Okay.
Throw it in some mud, give it some time, and something is going to grow. And giving it some time, that is an important notion, because Kapha dosha is slow, dull, smooth, slimy, right? Remember the mud?
Yeah, well, I really like how you're explaining this, because I've heard, like kapha described before, as sort of a slower element. And the way you're describing it, it brings it much more to life to me than just the idea of, to me, as almost in our culture, I feel like there's a value on like Vata energy. And
well, yeah, and let's talk about,
when you hear kapha, it's sort of like, oh, they're slow. But, now I hear something more subtle, and also more, somebody who can take their time and has a patience as well.
Well, let's talk about that when we get to Vata, but noting that Kapha dosha is slow. It takes its time. And Kapha time of life is ruled by youth. Okay? Kapha dosha doesn't forget. It's got the memory of an elephant. Little kids, they learn language, they don't forget it. Okay? That's when we learn to speak. If your mother speaks English, you grow up speaking English. You don't forget the words that you learn, right? It's that growth phase. Kapha holds on. It cares. Mothers are governed by Kapha dosha. Kapha dosha raises in all mothers for that nurturing, caring, holding on, growing, nurturing, and caring.
Oh, that's so nice.
Check, it can be stubborn. It can be your mother-in-law that brings up every Thanksgiving that one thing that you mistakenly said 10 years ago. Right? And it can also lead to too much material energy on parts of your body. Now, interestingly, in ancient times, when people were born with a high amount of this Kapha dosha, that was like a blessing. Because guess what? they lived through times of famine. If
Yes.
food was scarce, the mother did not become depleted and die through childbirth and nursing and all of this. Her body needed less to survive. She had more bulk, more strength, more nourishment to give without becoming depleted. Excuse me. So moving from the bottom up, the next element is we went from earth to water, right? Earth and water mixed is kapha dosha. So now we have to go from this water level and move into fire, right?
Right.
And what happens when, you remember the campfire?
Mm-hmm.
You remember when we burned the log and it's starting to turn to charcoal?
Yes.
That charcoal has a residue to it, an oily quality. And that oily quality, like oil, is fuel.
Okay.
So when we talk about pitta dosha, our primary element there is fire, but there is also a small ingredient of this transition of water.
Okay.
In the nod of oil, which has a liquid quality to it.
Okay.
Okay? And these are the things, fuel is needed for transformation. If I don't eat, my body temperature is going to go down, my tissues are going to waste, and I'm going to starve to death. If you don't pay the gas bill, you go and you clicked on the furnace and
Hi, so I just want to let you know that we had a little technical difficulty. Actually, I would just say some stupidity on my part, but we are back.
no, everything happens for a reason, Suzanne, and it's perfect. And because of the miracle of radiant energy, pitta, we're back up.
We're back up, and now we're going to continue our conversation.
And now we're going to continue. Because we say that if we want to know what a pitta looks like, is turn on the TV. They're front and center, in the limelight. Sparkly, bright, light, out there for all the world to see. And if it weren't for this wanting to be out there, wanting to communicate the message, wanting to go out and reach goals, then we wouldn't be able to be here today, and I don't think that these kinds of apps would be developed. So this was actually, our Ayurvedic auspicious blessing that occurred there, because it allowed us to really, really, really talk about pitta. Pitta is sharp, penetrating, goal-driven, and thus we were able to come back up. Now, if you've ever heard the term like, oh, that guy was inflamed in anger, right?
Yes.
You know that pitta, or the fire element, fuels anger.
Okay.
And so pittas have a reputation for being hot, sharp. It's their way or the highway. And when they want something, they'll stop at nothing to get it. Their anger style is they do not forgive, they do not forget. They'll carry that on for many lifetimes until they're able to get it resolved. Now, in a positive sense, it is also the radiant energy that allows somebody to open up truly spiritually. And through this, as we are all one in a universe and serving each other, pitta people with a well-balanced pitta dosha can achieve amazing things and save kids, communities, villages, countries, ways of life, okay? So pitta in the body is responsible for digesting our thoughts, digesting our food, making blood in our system, ruling the eyes, all of these transformational things that occur in the body.
Kind of viscous.
Are because of pitta. Yes. So moving on up, what is above the fire? Air. And again, air is the principle of movement. In Sanskrit, this word for wind is vayu. And from this word vayu, we get vata dosha.
Okay.
Vata dosha is light, not in terms of bright, but in terms of lightweight.
Okay.
They are slender, lighter, air. It doesn't weigh a whole lot, does it?
Right.
Right. Okay. It's dry. It's rough. Think it's cold. Think of cold, dry winter air. All right. You're in New York, so I don't have to tell you what that's like.
No, I've had more than enough of it.
Exactly. And you can't wait for springtime to come along and heat up all that cold, dry, rough ice and turn it into mud and bring those beautiful flowers of kapha in springtime. Now, vata is vast. It's clear. It's dark in the sense that it is empty and vast. Let's go all the way back to the beginning now and think about space, the final frontier, okay? The only time we can see things out there is when the fire element that's coming from the sun, the pitta, shines its light on planets and stars, and then we say, oh, there's something out there. Without that, on, say, for example, on a night that it's a new moon, right? We're not able to see the moon. When it's full, the sun is shining right on the moon and the sky is all lit up. But when it's a new moon, it's very dark. And it's because it's vast, it's empty. It's all this space for all of this air to move around. So this is all the electrical impulses in our body. I touch my knee and there's an electrical impulse that goes all the way up to my brain, which is like my electrical panel for my house.
Right.
Hey, there's a sensation on your knee. Okay. So if you're thinking, ooh, does this relate to pain? Yes. Without vata dosha, we don't really experience that sensation of pain.
Okay.
Pitta helps us perceive it as pain, and Pitta will, believe me, get its hot, sharp, penetrating deal in there, and the next thing that you know is that knee that you bumped is going boom, 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 boom.
Right.
Right? Right? And
Right.
fluid starts rushing in there, kapha starts rushing in there, trying to fix the whole thing. Oh my gosh, let's make it better. Put your hands on your knee, that'll help, right?
Right.
And it's interesting what you brought up earlier, because yes, in modern day living, what do we prize? We prize Pitta dosha because she's right out there front and center, you know, going after the gusto, making all the goals, entrepreneurial spirit. That girl, she goes after what she wants, right? We prize that. And the other thing that we seem to prize in our beauty image is this vata dosha.
Right.
Look at any magazine cover, and you've got these thin, waif-like models where the clothes just sort of hang off of them. Well, in ancient times, that's not going to work during times of famine. Vata gets cold. It's hard for vata to make it through the long, cold, dark, dry, rough, windy winter without, you know, a good cup of hot chocolate
Right.
brought to them by a very caring kapha person. Right?
Yeah.
So,
And this sort of gets to this, you know, thought of honoring the mother and honoring this slower nurturing energy in our bodies and not simply wanting to push that away.
exactly. And yet interesting, because we don't worry about famine and all of these things, what do we have in modern day is we have diseases of epic proportions that belong to Kapha dosha, where Kapha dosha provides the smallest amount of diseases. If we were to take all the diseases, okay, you have this much of diseases that belong to Kapha, you have this much of diseases that belong to Pitta, and you have this much of diseases that belong to Vata. And when I say belong to, I'm talking about gross imbalances of.
Okay, I understand. I get that.
Yeah, yet we have epic proportions of those Kapha diseases, cancer, diabetes. These are diseases of excess, overnutrition. And so it's interesting how our fads and what we think is attractive or unattractive changes throughout the times, when in reality, all we have to do is be balanced just for ourselves.
Do you think that, some of the popularity of things, these thinner images comes with the fact that we're in a time right now where there is an excess of kapha, and so it's sort of, that thing that's unattainable, that's always the thing that's desired, that in ancient times people desired to the health of kapha energy, which was hard to achieve. And so that was the beauty, the image of beauty then, and now.
Yeah, and it's interesting that we look at it that way, because not too long ago, there was a study conducted, and they took indigenous men from wherever they could find any more on the planet. These were tribal men that don't see television and magazines and things like that. And they showed them line drawing pictures of women, okay? And said, out of all of these, and some of them, they would do them in categories of bigger women and smaller women. And, because we all moms come in all different shapes and sizes, right?
Right.
And they asked the men, circle one on each one of these sheets, that the one that you would breed with, right? The one that you want to mother your children.
Right.
And what these men consistently picked across the board was a woman who looked balanced and healthy. Healthy. Healthy is beautiful, right? In ancient times, unhealthy had a lot to do with lack of food. And now in modern times, unhealthy has a lot to do with an excess of food or the wrong kinds of food. These are the things that make us unhealthy. And thus, it is our cellular intelligence that says, no, that's not attractive. And women do it too, right? We say, that guy over there, he looks like he'd be a good breeder. He'd be a good provider, right? This is instinctual. And this is how our race propagates, is by having these attractions. And ultimately, at the end of the day, what does it all come back to is balance. That balance between a man and a woman results in a child that allows us to be mothers of humans, and it allows the earth to be the mother of all of us human beings.
Aww, that's so nice. And so I just want to ask one sort of closing question on this to sort of wrap us up on this conversation about, this mother energy and Ayurveda, because you talked about, this imbalance, the doshas being always sort of, a tendency to change. And so this energy of motherhood and of, the kapha energy that we've been talking about, is there, a shift of that? And do you sense a shift of it, globally right now?
Oh, yes. And Ayurveda teaches that motherhood is governed over that. And even if you look at the woman's feminine cycle, okay? And since this is a program about mothers for mothers, we'll go into how the female body works in order to become a mother, okay? So after the time of puberty, we go through monthly cycles in our body. The first stage of that monthly cycle is the kapha stage. It is the stage of growth.
Okay.
Inside of our bodies, inside of our uteruses, there's building going on, and we are growing uterine lining. So that should the egg be fertilized, that there is all this nutrition to nurture and grow a fetus, right? Once we get past a point, and that if that egg isn't fertilized for whatever reason, the next phase of our monthly cycle comes through is the pitta phase.
Okay.
This is called Raja Rakta. And the body releases this uterine lining in the form of menstrual flow. Okay. And we transform. We get rid of all that old stuff.
Okay.
To prepare to start the cycle all over again. But that pitta phase, that Raja Rakta, that shedding of menstrual flow, and pitta governs and controls blood in the body, and that includes menstrual flow, which is different than the kind of blood that flows through our veins. And then the next thing that happens is the vata phase, the autumnal phase, if you will, because that menstrual flow slows down, the uterine lining is depleted, it's gone away, it's drying up, and we go into this dormancy, just like winter is a dormant period of time, of vata time, until spring is sprung with the next month and the next monthly cycle in the divine female to again build and grow this uterus in the kapha stage, which creates this space to be able to grow a baby. Remember that kapha, the key principle there is growth. And that's one thing that all mothers, all birth mothers, have provided that growth from their body. And every single human being who has mothered, whether through adopting a child or just having a mothering personality, even if they happen to be a male,
right,
embrace that nurturing, growing principle that is hallmark to kapha dosha.
This is really a beautiful way to think about these, energies. I really appreciate your taking me through and our, listeners through all of these ideas to paint this picture. I mean, I feel like I have a deeper understanding of motherhood and mothering energy. And I almost don't quite know how to describe the sort of breadth that you gave. I'm so impressed. And you're so knowledgeable, and I just am really impressed with how you brought this together. I've heard some of these ideas before, but never in a way that really created the picture that you created today, and I really appreciate it.
Oh, well, thank you so much. The pleasure has been all mine. When I embraced Ayurveda first as my own personal lifestyle so that I could become well, and then turned that into formal studies, and then as a professional to help others. And the way that I help others is I teach them how they can best help themselves, because we are all healers and we have the power to heal ourselves. And only then can we be available, can we then create space in our lives to be able to help others with a helping hand on their road to healing.
Absolutely. So you have a Facebook group. Can you mention?
I do. Join us in conversation on Facebook. There's a public group called My Ayurvedic Life. And my name is Kathryn Herbert. I am the administrator. You can also find me on my
Facebook. By the way, I'm a member, and it's a great Facebook group. I'm in a bunch of groups, and there's some that just don't really do that much, and you're always just I really like the things that you post. It's beautiful. It's interesting. I really enjoy your Facebook group a lot.
Well, thank you. And because we are a group, I'm not the only one that posts. So I think that you put up some pretty good posts as well. And in addition, we have other practitioners and doctors and great people from all over the world that contribute to that page. So join the community and join the conversation. It is a page for everyone. There are a lot of pages out there that are geared specifically to professionals where the terminology and things can get outside of the scope of regular day living. But that was the purpose when I created that group, was so that people could tune in just because they wanted questions answered about what to feed or what not to feed their kids, their dog, themselves. Lifestyle, to take away some of the fake news advertising that unfortunately our modern day processed foods are plagued with, as well as regular lifestyle ritual things that you can do DIY at home for free for your good health and for the good health of others in your family. There's also a Facebook page called Ayurveda for Life. And my website, ayurvedaforlife.com, is in development. It's about halfway up. So if
it'll be up soon.
Not all together, cut me some slack. I'm a busy lady. But you can reach out to me at ayurvedaforlife@gmail.com if you would like to learn more about how to get a consultation with me, whether or not you are interested in just living a good lifestyle for preventative reasons, or if you are struggling with a condition or a state of disease. We won't be firing your doctor. We'll be working alongside of your professional medical staff to help them help you to have a hand with healing.
And you're also available for workshops.
And I'm available for teaching workshops. At a studio near you. You can reach out to me and we can talk about where you'd like to see me. If you'd like to see me in January, then look at the invite that is up on my Ayurvedic Life as yesterday, because I'll be taking a very small group to India. So if you are interested in that, please express your interest as soon as possible. Space is highly limited there because we want to give you an experiential educational experience where you're going to live, eat, and breathe Ayurveda in its birth country, the mother and the motherland.
That sounds like such a nourishing trip to take.
Yes, and you get to do so with some fabulous university teachers that are doctors that I studied with there, and you get to do it with modern toilets and Wi-Fi and really, really, really good food, and heck, we'll even have a day of shopping. So,
that sounds wonderful, Kathryn.
Yeah.
I hope that
for those of you yogis who are interested in also visiting the epicenter of yoga, there is a second add-on trip there that goes up to Rishikesh, where we will visit the Ganga River, the mother of all rivers. And no, we won't be in that crazy part that you saw in Nat Geo where people are taking their clothes off and doing all that. We'll be right there on the banks at a nice fire ceremony honoring all that the universe and the Divine Mother has to offer us.
That sounds so beautiful. Sounds like a wonderful trip.
Reach out to me by email and I'll give you the full details and itinerary, because otherwise we'd have to have a whole nother
session just on your trip.
That's everything that is in store for us there. So we'll be doing organic farming. We'll be working with cows so that we actually learn the process of taking milk from the cow through the process until eventually we make ghee from butter, and then turn that ghee into medicine for our good bodies and lovely glowing skin. So
Thank you so much. That sounds like a beautiful trip. We will have links down below. Please like the video. Please subscribe to the channel if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're watching this on Facebook, please hit the like buttons. It helps other people to see the videos. Facebook doesn't show everybody everything. So the more you like, the more you comment, the more other people can enjoy this. Kathryn, thank you so much for being here. You gave me a wonderful education. I can't wait to have you back again. For sure, we'll have you back again. And thank you for taking your time and sharing your time with us tonight. And
well, I look forward to doing more of this. And thank you for having me. Namaste.
Namaste and happy Mother's Day.
Thank you. Happy Mother's Day to you too.
And to everyone out there, happy Mother's Day.
To everybody.
With the mother in all of us.
The mother in all of us and our great Mother Earth, may we care and treat her sacredly for all of times.
And we have a guest on saying happy Mother's Day to us as well. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording now.